Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. My name is Olakule Kasumo, and it's great to be on this show where we discuss all things books. Well, the year is zooming away. What a year it has been on Channel's Book Club. It's been fun talking to writers, publishers, policy makers, book lovers, and just discussing and exploring all things books. Now, recently, somebody told me about this John Randall Center for Yoruba Culture and History, and I was so excited. I'm sort of a history buff, and I'm looking forward to visiting the place. So many good things I'm hearing about the place. Kudos to Lagos State for doing this. I've always been an advocate of establishing institutions of knowledge and learning and history. I've always been fascinated by that. I think the greatest cities in the world, the most successful cities in the world, are very, very good at doing this. We have not done so well in this, in this area in Nigeria over the years, but it's something we need to step up on. So hearing news about the John Randall Center really is exciting. It's a start. So we need to, get things started from there and just keep moving on. If you visit the President Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library, for example, in Ogun State, it's such a fascinating place where you go in there and then you can experience history. We need more places like that. We're not doing, enough in the country. Our visit to Sharjah is to not just to attend the Sharjah International Book Fair, but we're always fascinated by the way the city, has created such centers, has built institutions that are about learning, about knowledge, about education, about information. So empowering, about history, research. Those things are so important. Sharjah has been very successful at doing that. You've got the Sharjah Book Authority, which handles all things books, and knowledge and all that. So Sharjah Book Authority organizes the Sharjah Book Fair, Sharjah International Book Fair, the Sharjah Publishing City, the Sharjah Library, and all those things. It's also well organized. But we stumbled on the African Institute, which is an institute under the Global Studies Universities. And this really, really blew our mind. We're so excited to stumble on this institution set apart just to research and study Africa. I mean, it's just fantastic. And the university, of course, then offers a lot of studies along these lines. And many young people in Nigeria ought to know about this kind of institution. They offer so much that a lot of young Nigerians are ignorant about full scholarship opportunities to study some of the most important subjects out there when it comes to African history, African studies, etc. Well, let's get you to experience a bit of what we experienced in Sharjah when we visited the African Institute of Global Studies University. Enjoy this. Innovation, real estate, infrastructure, and technology are some of the most important indices considered in defining successful modern cities. Sharjah ticks the boxes. But one other important index that the city works hard to project as its main driver of development is education. It is why the Sharjah University is one of the best in the world. The Sharjah International Book Fair is about the biggest in the world, and non-profit entities like the Africa Institute are set up and dedicated to the study, research, and documentation of Africa and the African diaspora. Professor Salah Hassan is currently the Chancellor of Global Studies University and Dean of the Africa Institute. He has served as director of the Africa Institute since its founding.
A lot of people ask me, the first question when I say the Africa Institute in Sharjah, they say, why an Africa Institute and why in Sharjah? And I say to them, if you can have African studies in London, and if you can have African studies in Northwestern University in the suburb of Chicago, and if you have African studies at Cornell University in the boondocks of the state of New York, why not here? Meaning, why not? But actually, there is a story. The Martinican philosopher Edouard Glissant talked about the world as an archipelago in which the seas and oceans are actually connecting islands. So he's always wanted us to move beyond uh, continental thinking, Europe, Africa, and so forth, and not viewing Africa as a global presence and not just a continental. I say this because there is a reason. In many places, even if they sound as small as Sharjah, there is a big history that people don't know. And it's complex, like the Caribbean. That was his argument, is that the Caribbean is the most global place. So Sharjah, by its location, if you look historically, is one of the closest to the continent. So why not having this? Especially if you think about the history of humanity. The first migration of humans from Africa is through the Red Sea. And then they moved through the Arabian Peninsula, east or west, and populated the world. So that is that rich history. And you can actually visit museum and you find that the stone age tools and metal work and all of those, very similar in similar periods in the continent.
The Africa Institute's history dates back to December 1976, when the ruler of Sharjah, Sheikh Sultan bin Mohammed Al Qasimi, who is a historian, hosted the first symposium on African and Arab relations. But it was in 2018 that the Institute was formally launched and began championing researches on Africa. The Africa Hall building serves as part of the future complex of buildings for the Africa Institute and often plays host to some of the brightest minds on the continent, as it did during a recently hosted conference with the theme New Directions in African Political Economy.
My question is, how radical are we willing to be in the South African context, right, with local capital?
The Africa Institute is an entity of Global Studies University, a postgraduate institution in Sharjah. Our appeal was naturally the rooms with the books which make up the library. (4,500 printed books and journals, more than 1,000 print archives, 5,000 academic books, hundreds of printed journals, and more. A room holds much history. It stores important and rare materials.
One of the things that is very important to scholars in the social sciences and humanities is the historical archive, because the archive is what is really the archive. Our archive is just a collection of records about our past. So even Twitter posts from yesterday constitute the archive, right, in a general sense. But specifically, we've got archival material that goes back centuries, right, which we have here. That sort of speaks to this part of the world, but also Africa broadly and the rest of the world. So, for example, we have Sharia law texts. We've got court documents. We've got manuscripts. Very special manuscripts that are written many years ago. We've got those types of historical archives, maps of the slave routes, the slave trade situation around here, going back centuries, which scholars can then come. We have one professor of history here, John Tabiti Willis, who's trying to map out the Arab slave trade and the routes, different routes that were used in these trades. Now, why is this important? It's important because in those routes you also have patterns of settlement today. So there are some people who might have come from West Africa, East Africa, South Africa, Southern Africa, who are here and therefore can trace their own lineages to those parts of the world, right? So we also have the Tejumola Olaniyan archive.
And there is the archive of the late Nigerian academic and the Louis Durham Meade Professor of English and African Cultural Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Dr. Tejumola Olaniyan.
Your viewers, given that they're Nigerian, there was a very distinguished Nigerian professor, Tejumola Olaniyan. He passed away, I think in 2020 or 21, I can't remember exactly, but his estate has bequeathed to us his collection of books, right, which numbers some 5,000 books he collected over his entire life. And we have that archive with us, his books, papers, pictures, everyone. We have it in our possession, and students can interact with that. So really, and then we're also trying to build a new campus and all those kinds of things. The Tejumola Olaniyan archive. And this archive is his estate. His family donated it to this institute. What is in this archive? It is his books, first of all. So that's also interesting. What was this professor reading? That's important. Want to understand, we often think your library, for example, that you have at your home, you may think it's just random collection of books, but it tells us something about you. Many years from now, people will study your library, find out what you were reading. That is important. It gives us a window into your own life. In addition, we also have a collection of his own music. What music he used to listen to. I mean, there's a lot of Fela Kuti there, as you can imagine. It's a collection of his music, but also a collection of his photographs, a collection of his correspondence, the people he was writing to and how they were responding. In the writing and the debates that are being had with his contemporaries and so on and so forth. All this is available to researchers and students. We have a collection also of his maps. He also had some maps that I was very fascinated by. So this is some of the archival material that we have here and that we intend to build on. And we also intend to digitize some of this, put it online, so that people don't need to travel all the way from Lagos to here. Sometimes if they want to, they can come. But suppose they want to just observe, we have trying to put that stuff online as well.
An African institute built in faraway Sharjah? Are there lessons for the continent?
Currently, when one looks at our home continent, you and I both, you and I both call home, at present there appears to not be a culture that appreciates knowledge and the role of knowledge in nation building, development, and just everyday life. But it has not always been like that. There was an older generation. If you go to Nigeria, for example, places like Ibadan, University of Ibadan, Nsukka, Unilag, those places were vibrant sites of research, discussion, debate. Why? Because they were funded by the state. So you've got to fund it. It doesn't just, you can just say, there's no funding, but we expect Africans to engage in knowledge production. No, producing knowledge is expensive. You have to have an archive, maintain the archive, library, maintain the library, update the library, lecture hall facilities, maintain them, these kinds of things. So this is the distinction, and this is why you are making the claim, which is a correct one, that here you found and observed a culture of knowledge appreciation, but it is also funded. These scholarships that we're willing to give students, that is the kind of investment. So I think in our continent, what we need to do, we have to again begin funding knowledge production, because otherwise the youngsters, without funding, the youngsters won't appreciate knowledge and its role in national development.
Well, again at Sharjah, we met a fascinating young man who has experienced the pains of cerebral palsy over the years, but he has dedicated himself to inspiring people around the world to telling people no matter your challenges, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you think is an handicap, you've got to get up and just do it. He's written a book along that line. And, you know, when we met him, he was just so motivating, so motivating. And he reminded me that no matter what you're going through, well, you just have to do it. So written here, Bilal. My book is all about inspiring and motivating general public all over the world. Wow. Wow, well done. Well done. How have you found Bilal's book so far?
Actually, what has happened is Bilal is a student of Al Noor Center, and our managing partner and Motivate is from the day one is the partnership with the Al Noor Center, and we are like a partner for their all the activities and the board members also. So Ian is find Bilal there and his inspiring lifestyles and the stories. So he want to write a book which we want to do. So we took it from there and we publish and distribute the books in the market to inform the people that the book is not only about the other people. The people with the determinations, they also deserve for that. They have the motivational, they have more willpower, more ideas, but the explanation is a different way. And so that's why he chose himself as also journalism. And from there, the UAE, they choose them as a special journalist for the Olympic also.
Wow.
It's a big honor for
the
us.
Olympics?
Yes, for the Olympic of Determination, which will happen 3 years back in UAE. Yeah, so he was one of the journalists there also.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So Bilal, it's been a pleasure meeting you. I'd like you to just say hi to all our fans there. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. The Nigeria Publishers Association is the umbrella body for publishing in Nigeria, and the publishing sector is so crucial. Just imagine the world without the publishing sector. Ooh, no books, no writers, no authors. How do you disseminate everything the writers and authors have written without publishing? The world is built on publishing, if you think about it. I mean, it's a knowledge-based world, and publishing is key in that regard. So the Nigeria Publishers Association, forgive me, recently had its annual convention, and then there was a new executive. There's a new president of the Nigeria Publishers Association. But apart from that, it was just the normal annual gathering of publishers in Nigeria dealing with the most important issues of publishing in the country. We were there. Enjoy it.
The president of Nigeria Publishers Association.
The Nigerian Publishers Association, NPA, holds its annual conference and general meeting. The gathering has the presence of publishers, other stakeholders in the book industry, and government officials.
The recent success of generative AI.
This year's theme explores the subject of publishing in the age of artificial intelligence, exploring the future of content creation, delivery, and copyright.
Our chairman.
In his address as the chairman of the occasion, the chief consultant at AJ Silicon, Razak Jayola, says the gathering is crucial as it helps publishers navigate the area of technological advancement.
This conference is an opportunity to explore how we can harness the power of AI to overcome challenges and unlock new possibilities for educational publishing in Nigeria.
The Director General of the Nigerian Copyright Commission, Dr. John Asin, in his keynote address discusses the issues associated with AI and publishing.
I've come to realize that in today's knowledge-driven world, AI has revolutionized the way we acquire, the way we process, and the way we use knowledge in our day-to-day tasks. AI is not only about technology, but for also the users. In this case, the publisher and the learners. To make the best of it, we must first understand it, value it as a tool that should help us to create and deliver our products. And eventually, I beg you, let's own it for the good of humanity and to guarantee a more secure future for their creative space.
Some of the members also react to the timeliness of the theme.
This is one of the trending issues today, both not just in publishing, but in public life and in our everyday lives. If you notice, and having heard from the conference speakers, including the keynote speaker at that conference, you would realize that AI has come to stay. But most importantly, it's not just beginning. It has evolved over time. Society is evolving. The young people these days would rather prefer to read through their smartphones rather than getting to hold textual materials like it used to be in our times. So society is evolving. And because society is evolving, we must continue to ensure that those of us who are practitioners in the publishing industry evolve with the times.
This is the best team we can go for at this point in time. When we are talking of AI will definitely enhance your operations. We are talking of publishing, we are talking of law, we are talking of accounting. So I think it shows that we publishers, we are not sleeping. So we too want to know how we can use AI to improve our operations.
The former president of the association, Uchenna Nyoke, while appreciating members for his successful tenure, charges the government with policies that will improve the nation's education sector.
The issue of government deciding to, at will, to change curriculum. When they do that, they don't consult publishers. They run into big trouble. That is one. Two, we all go abroad to print because our paper mills are dead. Government must give an environment, provide an environment that will allow paper mills or even investors. You see Igbo people here, they're the ones actually investing in paper mills in Nigeria. And for me, it's good, but it's not the best for the country.
After the conference, members of the NPA elected the managing director of Evans Publishers Limited, Lukman Dauda, as their new president. Mr. Dauda is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria.
New president of Nigeria Publishers Association. Well done, wishing him all the best. This is where we have to draw curtain on the show today. As always, we'll be delighted to get your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumu. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.